The plains are quiet only for a moment. A dry wind sweeps across the savannah, stirring dust from the cracked earth and carrying with it the faint scent of dung, sweat, and blood. The grass is low this season, nibbled short by thousands of hooves, and the sky above seems enormous, stretched tight and white with midday heat. In the distance, vultures circle lazily in the thermals, riding invisible currents while scanning for movement below. Life in the savannah never stops. But for one wildebeest, it is just beginning. A pregnant female slows her pace, stepping away from the herd with deliberate unease. Her flanks twitch, her tail flicks wildly, and then she lowers herself to the ground. There's no ceremony, no shelter, and no safety. Birth happens here in the open, under the sun, in full view of whatever might be watching. The calf comes quickly. A slick, twitching form spilled onto the dirt like a dropped bag of muscle and bones. Its eyes are wide open, blinking against the light. Instinct surges before thought has time to form. The mother grunts softly, nudging the calf with her muzzle. There's no time for bonding or long licks of affection. She knows what's coming. The herd's movement has stirred the air for miles, drawing attention. The calf flails, its legs bent wrong and twitching awkwardly. It smells fresh, unmistakably new, and in the savannah, new means weak, new means easy. Within 2 minutes, the calf finds its footing. Shaky legs tremble, and its small body sways like a branch in the wind. But movement is critical. It doesn't matter that it can barely stand. It must. This species evolved to outrun lions within 5 minutes of birth. Evolution doesn't allow for slow learners. As it stumbles upright, the muscles in its spindly legs lock into place, adapting almost instantly. The brain catches up with the body, and the creature that was just a helpless mass of tissue becomes a runner. 300 meters away, hidden in the shade of a low acacia bush, 2 lionesses are already watching. One lifts her head, amber eyes narrowing. She doesn't move yet. Timing is everything. Rushing the kill can waste precious energy. In the heat of day, mistakes are punished harshly, even for predators. But her body language changes. The ears flatten, the shoulders lower. It's the beginning of a stalk. Back near the calf, the mother nudges again, this time harder. The calf jerks into motion, half run, half fall, and stumbles forward. The herd hasn't stopped moving. The noise is constant. Hooves crunching dry soil, grunts of older bulls, and the high-pitched bleats of other calves that were born just hours before. Somewhere nearby, a jackal calls out, sharp and brief. Birds take flight from the brush. Nothing goes unnoticed in this open terrain. The calf's first sprint is not graceful. It careens into the flank of another adult, bounces off and finds itself running in the right direction more by luck than intention. But it's running, and that's what counts. Movement attracts eyes, but it also means you're no longer on the ground, where everything is vulnerable. The lionesses move now, their bellies nearly brushing the earth. Muscles flex beneath golden fur as they close the distance in long, silent strides. A third joins them from behind, a veteran with torn ears and a swollen belly. She's not as fast, but she's done this hundreds of times. Together they arc around the herd's edge like a noose tightening. Suddenly, one wildebeest snorts loud and hard, a warning blast. Heads turn, the herd tenses. Movement ripples through the mass like a living current. The lions break cover. The chase ignites chaos. The calf, only minutes old, is swept into a storm of motion. Dust erupts from beneath 1,000 hooves. Adults snort and bellow, circling back toward their young or crashing blindly forward. A bull charges sideways, horns swinging wildly as he tries to intercept the predator closest to his calf. He misses. The lioness leaps through the cloud of dust, landing hard on a young wildebeest too slow to pivot. The calf tumbles, legs flailing. It's not the newborn. It's one from yesterday, still learning. A stroke of luck. The newborn survives its first chase. Not because it outran the lion, but because something else was slower. In the aftermath, the pride eats quickly. Vultures are already descending, flapping and hissing. The lions growl, mouths soaked with blood, and rip into their prize before the scavengers overwhelm them. A day-old calf is barely enough meat, but they take what they can. This wasn't a hunt born of strategy, it was an opportunistic strike. The newborns are the weak link, and the lions know the timing of the birthing season better than any scientist. Nearby, the calf that survives stands beneath its mother's legs. It trembles, not from injury but from adrenaline. Its lungs heave, but it breathes. That's all it needs. In the coming weeks, it will learn to run in zigzags, to sense danger from body language alone, to respond not to sound, but to movement in the periphery. It will know what silence means in the savannah, that something is watching. But for now, survival means staying close, staying alert, and growing faster than the next predator attack.
These first minutes are a condensed version of the savannah's rules. No safety, no mercy, no pause.
In just 1 hour, over 8,000 wildebeest calves can be born during peak birthing season. And in that same hour, hundreds will fall to lions, hyenas, jackals, and even opportunistic eagles. The strategy is simple. Flood the plains with so many new lives that predators can't possibly take them all. It's survival by numbers, not by strength. The savannah doesn't wait for the weak. There are no second chances. By the time the sun reaches its peak and the heat shimmers over the dust, the herd has moved on, and so has the calf. Its legs are stronger now. It keeps pace with its mother. And somewhere ahead, more births are already beginning, and more predators are watching. Because here life doesn't ease you in. It throws you to the wolves or the lions, or worse. The heat of the afternoon begins to soften, but the light still lies heavy across the savannah, casting long shadows that stretch and blur into the golden grasses. It is in this transition, from blistering day to cooling dusk, that Africa's most iconic predators begin to stir. For hours they have rested in silence, barely more than shapes beneath a thorny cluster of acacia trees. Flies buzz around their ears, tails flick lazily, and their sides rise and fall in rhythm with deep, measured breathing. At a glance they appear lethargic, but every motion or lack of one is deliberate. The energy saved now will fuel the strike later. A lioness rises first, her muscles rippling as she stretches, pulling taut the lines of a body built for sudden violence. She blinks slowly, scanning the horizon not with desperation, but with practiced calm. Lions are not creatures of chance, they are planners, strategists, students of behavior. While other predators rely on speed or venom, lions refine the art of patience and teamwork to deadly efficiency. They are ambush predators, and the ambush begins long before a single paw is lifted. About 30 meters away, a herd of zebra grazes near a shallow depression in the land. They are alert but relaxed, ears flicking, heads lowering to feed in a synchronized rhythm. The lions have learned these patterns over generations. When the zebras feed, when they raise their heads, how far they wander before suspicion sets in. They've memorized the terrain, the wind direction, even the paths the prey will most likely use to escape. Every feature of this land is a tool, and they know how to use it. The lioness is not alone. Two others, equally silent, begin to move in unison, fanning out through the tall grass. The vegetation here is perfectly suited to concealment, brittle and sun-bleached, but dense enough to mask movement. Each lioness moves with painstaking control, lowering her body close to the earth, pressing her weight into the soil to avoid shaking the blades. Even their breathing changes, slow, quiet and controlled. A single misstep can send their quarry running, and tonight they cannot afford a failed hunt. Lions are unique among big cats for their social nature. The pride functions like a military unit, each member with a role, each aware of the other's positions and responsibilities. In a successful ambush, one lioness acts as the driver, flanking the prey and forcing them in a specific direction, while others lie in wait at predicted escape routes. This coordination isn't instinct alone, it's learned behavior, passed down through observation and experience. Young lions watch the older females with intense focus, absorbing the choreography of the hunt long before they join it. As the sun dips lower, the light flattens into a softer bronze. This is the lion's window, the hour before true darkness falls, when visibility for prey diminishes, but their own vision sharpens. Lions possess a reflective layer behind the retina, known as the tapetum lucidum, amplifying low-light vision and giving their eyes a ghostly glow when caught by sudden light. This biological edge makes them formidable nocturnal predators, capable of seeing movement even when their prey cannot. The wind shifts slightly, and instantly the lionesses pause. One sniffs the air, nostrils twitching. The direction must always be correct, upwind, never downwind. A single strand of human scent can be detected by zebra from over a kilometer away. A lion's musky odor is just as easily betrayed. Satisfied with the current, they resume their slow advance. One crawls closer to a shallow ravine that cuts through the grass, a natural funnel where panicked prey might flee. She crouches, lowers her chin to the dust, and waits. The moment comes suddenly. A younger lioness bolts from the flank, charging the herd with a burst of raw energy and ferocity. The zebra scream, high-pitched and urgent, hooves pounding as they scatter in multiple directions. But panic is predictable, and that is what the lionesses rely on. Two zebra turn directly into the ravine, exactly as expected. The waiting lioness explodes from cover, closing the distance in seconds with a blur of muscle and claw. Her timing is nearly perfect, but not flawless. One zebra manages to dodge at the last instant, slipping through a narrow gap in the rocks. The second isn't as lucky. She lunges, fangs sinking deep into the throat as her front claws hook into flesh. The zebra bucks and kicks, but the lioness tightens her grip, cutting off the airflow, using her weight to drive it to the ground. It takes less than a minute, but it feels longer. Every kill is a violent negotiation between prey and predator, and even for the lioness, success comes with risk.
One miscalculated hoof to the skull could end her hunting career, or her life. The others arrive quickly. There is no delay.
Hunger overrides hierarchy, and though lions live in groups, they feed competitively. Growls erupt as each lion claims a portion, and even cubs, still too young to hunt, bite and tug at sinew with tiny blood-slicked teeth. The kill is loud, primal and short-lived. Within 15 minutes, only bones and scattered patches of hide remain. Vultures arrive soon after, and jackals hover on the perimeter, eyes gleaming with anticipation. In the savannah, nothing is wasted. This kind of kill, fast, organized and efficient, is the goal, but it's not always the reality. For every successful hunt, there are several failures. Lions are not the infallible kings they are often portrayed to be. In fact, their kill success rate hovers around 20 to 30%, lower than that of solitary hunters like leopards or wild dogs. The pride's strength lies not in precision, but persistence and teamwork. Over time, their strategy wins, because when the hunt works, it feeds many. In dry seasons, lions shift their patterns. Waterholes become strategic choke points. Trails between shade and feeding grounds are marked and ambushed. When prey is scarce, lions become bold, sometimes even attacking adult giraffes or buffalo, risky targets that can easily turn the tide with a single kick. The decision to engage depends on many variables: hunger level, pride strength, the condition of the target. Lions perform a kind of mental arithmetic before every chase. Their behavior is shaped by more than hunger. Mating, dominance, and pride stability influence their actions. Males, though not the primary hunters, defend territory with unmatched aggression. When coalitions of males take over a new pride, they often kill existing cubs to bring females back into estrus, a brutal tactic, but one that maximizes their reproductive window. This grim cycle creates constant disruption, and females must adapt their hunting routines around shifting pride dynamics and internal competition. Despite the violence, lions are among the most socially complex carnivores. They communicate through vocalizations, scent marking, body language, and even physical touch. Their social bonds are deep, especially among related females. Cubs are raised communally, nursed by multiple mothers, and taught the essentials of survival through watching and mimicking. As night falls, the savannah darkens into a silhouette of swaying grass and scattered trees. The pride rests again, bellies round, fur stained with the day's work. The kill is done, but the strategy never sleeps. Across the plains, other herds will settle nervously, always watching the grass, always listening for silence, because in this place, it's not the roar that kills. It's the whisper. The air is still, almost too still, as though the savannah itself is holding its breath. Heat shimmers above the plains in slow, warping waves, bending the light and flattening distance. Crickets click softly from under tufts of golden grass, their rhythms faint beneath the weight of the sun. A few wildebeest graze listlessly under the faded shade of a solitary acacia, their tails swishing, their ears constantly twitching. But farther out at the edge of a low rise, a different set of eyes surveys the landscape with a hunter's precision. The cheetah does not stalk like the lion, nor does it charge with the brute force of a hyena clan.
It waits, shoulders low, spine arched, tail sweeping slowly for balance, as it scans the herd for the smallest sign of vulnerability. A limp, a lag, a calf that steps just a fraction too far from the group. Its spotted coat blends almost seamlessly with the broken shadows of the grass, and every inch of its body is wired for one purpose: the burst. Cheetahs are built like no other predator on the continent. Every aspect of their physiology is tuned to optimize speed.
from lightweight skeletons and oversized nasal passages to semi-retractable claws that provide cleat-like grip. Their long, flexible spines act like springs, stretching and contracting in powerful undulations that allow their limbs to reach farther with every stride. At full sprint, a cheetah moves at nearly 30 feet per bound, its paws barely touching the ground before launching off again. But the reality of that speed is far more complex than a headline figure. A cheetah's maximum velocity, upwards of 100 kilometers per hour, is only sustainable for a few seconds. Beyond that, its body overheats rapidly. During a chase, its core temperature rises dangerously fast, and its lungs pump air at rates up to 150 breaths per minute. If the kill isn't made quickly, the cheetah risks collapse. And in a world where failing to eat today might mean not eating tomorrow, there is very little margin for error. The female shifts her weight subtly. The herd hasn't noticed. The wind is favorable, drifting across her flanks and toward the acacia trees beyond the prey. She tightens her muscles, back legs coiled beneath her like compressed steel. The moment comes when a young impala strays a few meters from the group, nibbling at something its mother missed. There's hesitation. A final calculation. Then she explodes. There is no warning. 1 second she's stone still, and the next, a blur. The impala freezes for half a heartbeat, then bolts in the opposite direction, but it's already too late. The cheetah has launched into the chase, her claws tearing into the soil, her body cutting through the grass with terrifying grace. Dust erupts beneath her, her breathing now a rapid rasp, her focus laser sharp. She doesn't simply run, she anticipates, reading the impala's trajectory and adjusting hers in real time. Cheetahs don't chase in straight lines. They zigzag with their prey, tails acting as rudders to maintain balance at high speeds. A slight miscalculation, a stumble, or an unexpected turn from the prey can break the rhythm, sending the cheetah skidding or forcing her to abort the hunt entirely. In this moment, every stride is a decision. Attack from the side or wait for a stumble, bite the throat or trip the legs first. The energy spent now must result in a kill. If it doesn't, she'll need hours of rest before trying again. Time she might not have. The impala veers sharply, hooves kicking up a cloud of dust, but the cheetah matches the move instantly. She's closing in. 10 meters, then 5. Her body lowers slightly. In one final committed surge, she swings a front paw forward, hooking the impala's back leg and sending it crashing to the ground. The follow-through is immediate. Jaws to the throat, fangs puncturing the trachea. The impala kicks once, twice, then goes still. The cheetah doesn't celebrate. She doesn't even eat right away. Her sides heave with the effort of the chase, and her body trembles with the strain of heat and exhaustion. She must rest before feeding. Panting heavily, she scans the horizon, ears swiveling for threats. Because now comes the second phase of risk, holding the kill. Cheetahs are not built for defense. Unlike lions or leopards, they cannot fight off larger predators. Hyenas, leopards, and even opportunistic vultures can steal their hard-earned meals. In some regions, nearly half of all cheetah kills are lost to scavengers. She has minutes, maybe an hour, before the scent attracts attention. If she's lucky, she'll eat just enough to replenish what she spent. If not, the effort was for nothing. This is the paradox of the cheetah. It is the fastest animal on land, but also among the most vulnerable predators in Africa. Its body is a masterpiece of speed, but that specialization comes at a price: frailty. A serious injury, twisted limb, cracked tooth, torn muscle, often means death by attrition. Unlike more robust carnivores, cheetahs rarely recover from trauma. They live and die by efficiency. The evolutionary trade-off is stark. In exchange for speed, cheetahs have sacrificed strength. Their skulls are smaller and lighter than those of other big cats, with enlarged nasal cavities and smaller jaws. Their claws don't retract fully, limiting their climbing ability. They hunt during the day to avoid conflict with nocturnal predators, but that choice exposes them to the harshest heat and lowers their odds of surprise. And yet they persist, because when the chase succeeds, the reward is unmatched. Cubs complicate things further. For mothers, hunting while raising young is an exhausting, dangerous balance. Cheetah cubs are born nearly helpless, with only their mother's vigilance standing between them and death. She must move them frequently to avoid detection, all while hunting solo. Cubs don't learn by being taught, they learn by watching. Often a mother will wound prey and allow the cubs to chase and play with it, giving them real-time experience in the mechanics of the hunt. But survival rates are low. Less than 1 in 5 cubs reach adulthood in the wild. Across the open plains, cheetahs favor environments where visibility is high. Their lean forms can be spotted from a distance, and their strategy relies not on ambush from dense cover, but on open field precision. They prefer habitats with scattered shrubs, termite mounds for observation, and grass tall enough to conceal until the moment of the strike. This is why cheetahs thrive in regions like the Serengeti and parts of Namibia, where their explosive chases are made possible by unobstructed terrain. Yet their world is shrinking. As agriculture expands and human settlements fragment the savanna, cheetahs are pushed into smaller, disconnected territories. Roads, fences, and livestock limit their ability to roam and hunt. In many areas, their numbers have dropped dramatically. Today, fewer than 7,000 remain in the wild. Though they are unmatched in speed, they are not keeping pace with the speed of human change. Still, for now, the plains remain. The female cheetah tears into her meal quickly, scanning constantly. Every bite matters. Tomorrow, the cycle begins again. She will scout, wait, sprint, and gamble, because in the savanna, there is no backup plan, no safety net. Each hunt is a decision between energy and starvation, and every chase tests the limits of biology and instinct. In this landscape, speed is survival, but survival is never guaranteed. The savanna wakes slowly under a dull, pale light. A light breeze carries the scent of dust and dung, curling through the folds of tall grass and rolling gently across the open plains. At first glance, the landscape feels peaceful. Grazing herds dotted across the distance, occasional bird calls echoing through the acacias, and soft hoofbeats muffled by dry soil. But beneath the surface of this calm lies a tension that defines Africa's wild heart. Here, danger is rarely far away, and survival is often measured not in speed, but in defiance. Near a shallow riverbank, a herd of African buffalo moves in formation. Massive, dark bodies coated in a layer of dried mud trudge together in tight, deliberate lines. At the center are the calves and younger females, flanked on all sides by a ring of adults. Every few steps, one of the larger bulls turns its head, scanning the grasslands with wide, watchful eyes. These animals are not passive grazers. They are survivors, equipped not just with brute strength but with collective awareness, an unspoken system of protection honed over millennia of predator confrontation. Lions have learned to respect this arrangement. A single buffalo can weigh over 800 kilograms and carry enough muscle to snap a lion's spine with a well-placed kick. Their horns curve into a hardened shield, called a boss, that reinforces their skulls and allows them to drive through attackers with lethal force. While many predators prefer to isolate the weak or the injured, buffalo force them to think twice. One lion may die for every kill attempted. The math does not always favor the hunter. Out in the open, a small pride lies waiting. 3 lionesses, experienced but cautious, crouch in the shadow of a termite mound, eyes fixed on the trailing edge of the herd. They've followed the buffalo for half a day, waiting for the right moment. The lions aren't hungry, they're starving. Their ribs press visibly against their flanks, and their gait has lost the relaxed sway of well-fed confidence. They've failed twice this week. Time is thinning out their strength. They need to make this work. The herd senses something. The rhythm of their movement falters. A few snorts pierce the silence, and one old cow pauses, tail high, ears locked forward. Predators don't have to strike to change the energy of the plains. Their presence alone is enough to trigger ancient instincts. Within seconds, the lead buffalo issue a deep bellow, low and resonant. The herd responds with remarkable cohesion, closing ranks and tightening into a near-perfect circle. Calves disappear behind towering adult bodies. Faces turn outward. Horns are angled in every direction. This is not a retreat, it's a challenge. One lioness breaks formation and begins to creep along the edge of the herd's flank, low to the ground. Her target is a calf, barely 6 months old, thin and still unsure of its place in the group. But the lioness hesitates. The calf is shielded by 2 females that have not moved from its side. Every time she shifts, their heads follow. They see her. She knows they see her. Still, hunger overrides fear, and she launches anyway, claws extended, muscles firing in one desperate gamble. What follows is chaos, but not the kind the lioness expected. The buffalo react instantly. The 2 guarding females lunge forward, bellowing with terrifying volume, their hooves pounding as they drive toward the attacker. One bull, late to join but eager to enforce the defense, barrels forward from the rear, head lowered like a battering ram. The lioness veers off course, but not fast enough. She's caught on the shoulder by the bull's horn and flung sideways, her body twisting mid-air before crashing into the dirt with a sharp, dry thud. She scrambles up and flees without looking back. The rest of the pride stays low, watching. No one follows. The herd moves on, slower now, but tighter. There will be no kill tonight, not here. Just a few kilometers away, in a drier section of the savannah, another force of defense marches with a very different strategy. A matriarchal elephant herd cuts across a corridor of scrubland, heading toward a known waterhole. Their pace is steady but purposeful. At the front, the matriarch, a colossal female in her 50s, leads with a kind of serene authority. Her ears flick periodically, and her trunk swings low but alert. Behind her, daughters and granddaughters form a protective phalanx around the youngest members, some barely tall enough to clear the brush. Elephants are not prey in the traditional sense. No predator routinely hunts them, not unless desperation takes hold. Even lions, bold and coordinated, rarely risk attacking a healthy adult. Calves are a different story. When isolated or wandering, they become vulnerable, and lions have been known to stake out waterholes for days, waiting for a young elephant to fall behind. But elephants have developed an unmatched response. They don't just defend, they retaliate. This herd is no stranger to loss. One of the older cows bears the scars of a lion attack from a decade earlier. Deep grooves on her hind leg, where a pride once tried to bring her down as she shielded a dying calf. She limps slightly, but her presence still commands respect. The younger elephants walk near her, not out of pity, but because wisdom here is measured in survival. As they approach the waterhole, the matriarch halts. Something has changed. The birds have gone quiet. The wind carries a new scent, musky, feline. She raises her head and lifts her trunk, scenting the air with the tip curled skyward. Behind her, the rest of the herd stills. Even the calves, who moments ago were flapping their ears playfully, now huddle close, silent. A rustle from the brush confirms her suspicion. 3 lions slink from the edge of the reeds, not charging, just watching. They do not intend to fight, but they're testing the line, gauging whether the herd is weak enough to take. The matriarch doesn't wait for a move. She stomps forward, ears flared, trumpeting with the kind of force that rattles the soil. Behind her, the other adult females form up in formation. The lions flinch, retreating slightly. And then the charge begins. It is not a bluff. 5 tons of advancing fury tears across the distance, tusks lowered, trunks raised. The lions scatter, not even bothering to mount a defense. They flee into the brush, leaving behind only dust and broken grass. No contact was made. None needed. The message was clear. Elephants hold memory in astonishing depth. Scientific studies have shown that matriarchs can recall water locations during droughts, identify distant vocalizations of relatives, and even distinguish the difference between threatening and non-threatening human languages. They also remember threats. A pride that attacked an elephant calf a year ago will be recognized and treated with aggression the next time they are encountered. For buffalo and elephants alike, survival is not passive. It is a choice made daily to stand ground, to protect, to fight when necessary. They are not immune to loss. Calves are taken. Elders die. But the principle holds. The savannah does not belong only to the hunters. Sometimes the hunted turn and charge, and in those moments the balance tilts. And when it does, it reminds every predator. The savannah does not kneel to kings. It answers to those who endure. The African savannah may be known for its grandeur, the towering elephants, roaring lions, and stampeding herds. But beneath the towering grasses and sun-drenched skies exists a second world, a quieter one, a world of stillness, shadow, and shape-shifting. Here, survival isn't earned through speed or force, but by disappearing. This is the realm of deception, where being seen means being eaten, and invisibility is the most valuable trait of all. Beneath a knotted acacia tree, where the dappled light cuts sharp patterns into the underbrush, a flap-necked chameleon inches along a twig. Its movement is glacial, deliberate, almost robotic. Each limb lifts and swings with a mechanical precision, freezing between steps as if the creature is mimicking the wind itself. To the casual observer, it isn't even there. Its skin has taken on the pale green and brownish hues of the surrounding leaves. blending not with perfection, but with just enough imperfection to pass in a world where predators don't have time to double-check. Contrary to popular myth, chameleons don't change color to match every background like magical shapeshifters. Their color shifting serves multiple purposes: communication, temperature regulation, and camouflage among them. Their skin contains specialized cells called chromatophores, which manipulate pigment based on hormonal and neural signals. This allows them to express subtle color changes in response to light, mood, or threat. Against green leaves in early morning, a male may appear jade and gold. On warm rocks at noon, the same chameleon might turn dusty brown. It is a living barometer, constantly recalibrating its visibility to fit the moment. Higher above, perched invisibly against the tree trunk, a twig mantis stands guard. At first glance, it is indistinguishable from the dry branches around it. Its body is thin, textured, and angled, more architecture than anatomy. Even under scrutiny, the disguise holds. This insect doesn't rely on running or flying. It relies on stillness. Absolute, unwavering stillness. Only when an unsuspecting fly passes within reach does it break the illusion. A lightning-fast jab with its forelimbs, and the prey is impaled and consumed, still twitching. Deception here is not just for defense. It's an offensive weapon. On the cracked ground below, where dust mingles with droppings and hoofprints, a leaf mantis does the opposite. It pretends to be dead. Flattened against the earth, its body mimics a fallen leaf so convincingly that even predators like birds or reptiles often overlook it. But its eyes remain open, unblinking. Every few seconds it twitches just slightly, adjusting for wind or scent or vibration. It is waiting, not hiding in fear, but biding its time. Camouflage in the savannah is not reserved for insects and reptiles alone. Among mammals, one of the most effective deceivers is the African serval. A lean, long-legged cat barely twice the size of a domestic house cat, the serval moves like a whisper through the grasslands. Its spotted coat breaks its outline against the variable texture of the terrain. Tall golden stalks, patches of scorched earth, flowering shrubs. Unlike lions who rely on strength in numbers and brute power, the serval survives by using stealth and precision. It freezes in place at the faintest sound. It crouches so low its ears brush the dirt. And when it pounces, it launches straight into the air, sometimes leaping 2 meters high to crash down on a mouse that never saw it coming. Then there are the true illusionists, creatures that alter not just color or shape, but their very behavior to complete the lie. The African assassin bug, for instance, wears the corpses of its victims. After killing ants or termites, it attaches their bodies to its back using sticky secretions, forming a grotesque cloak of death. To an approaching ant, it smells and looks like a harmless cluster of nestmates. But when it gets too close, the assassin bug drops the ruse and strikes with surgical precision. This deception is so evolved that even hyper-alert social insects are often fooled. At dusk, the light shifts. Shadows grow longer, and with them comes another kind of deceiver, the nightjar. A ground-dwelling bird with a feather pattern so close to bark and sand that it can vanish entirely when still. During daylight, it remains motionless, trusting its camouflage so completely that it allows predators and even humans to approach within inches before considering flight. Its eggs, laid directly on the ground, mimic the texture of pebbles. Even its calls at night sound more like insects than birds. It is the ghost of the bush, defined more by what it is not than by what it is. On the edge of a shallow pool, a crocodile lies buried in mud. Only its nostrils and eyes are visible above the waterline, and even those mimic the knotted lumps of driftwood. Fish swim near. Birds land within striking distance. The crocodile does not move. It is not a hunter in pursuit. It is an ambush in progress. For hours, it can remain completely still, waiting for the exact alignment of opportunity and reach. When the moment comes, it launches upward with terrifying speed, jaws snapping shut with a force exceeding 3,000 pounds per square inch. One bite, and it drags its victim into the water to drown. The disguise breaks only after the damage is done. Nature favors the patient here. Predators like the African rock python take the art of stillness to an extreme. This massive constrictor coils beneath fallen logs or rock crevices, staying perfectly hidden for days. It can go months without eating, waiting for just the right moment to uncoil its trap. And when it strikes, it does so with bone-crushing force, wrapping its muscular body around warthogs, bush babies, or even small antelope, squeezing until the heartbeat stops. Even among prey species, deception plays a vital role. The young of many savanna animals, gazelles, antelope, even warthogs, are born with fur that mimics the color and pattern of dappled light. These juveniles instinctively lie still when threatened, sometimes for hours, relying on their camouflage to carry them through the most vulnerable days of life. A fawn that runs too early draws attention. One that remains unseen has a better chance of joining the herd later. Some strategies border on mimicry. The harmless milkweed bug, for instance, sports the same orange and black coloration as toxic beetles and stinging insects. Birds, having learned painful lessons, leave it alone. Other insects do the opposite, using cryptic, bland coloring to pass entirely beneath notice. In the world of small things, looking like nothing is often better than looking dangerous. But deception has limits. Camouflage can be defeated by the wrong lighting, a shift in wind, or the unpredictable eye of an experienced predator. Illusions fail, patterns are recognized, and when they are, the penalty is swift. That's why the best deceivers are never static. They adjust constantly, adapting to new backdrops, new threats, new tactics. They are creatures not just of disguise, but of strategy. In the grand theater of the savannah, where lions roar and hyenas shriek and thunderous hooves shake the dust, it is easy to miss the subtle acts playing out beneath the surface. But these acts matter. They determine who lives through the night. They decide which genes pass on and which vanish. And they remind us that in nature, power is not always loud. Sometimes the deadliest advantage is simply not being noticed at all. The air above the savannah churns with rising heat. From the ground, the sky looks almost empty, just pale blue smudged with distant wisps of cloud. But something else is circling high above. Far beyond the gaze of most animals, thermals lift a silent procession of wings. The vultures are watching, spiraling slowly, constantly adjusting their altitude. They scan the earth with eyes that can spot a carcass from over 4 kilometers away. But they don't look for the dead alone. They look for signs of death in progress, circling predators, fleeing prey, rising dust, or the glint of blood under the sun. In a land where energy is scarce and danger is common, timing is everything. Below, a lone jackal trots along the edges of an old game trail, nose low to the ground. Every few meters it pauses to sniff a patch of dirt, then darts forward, ears flicking. Jackals are opportunists, born to slip between the chaos of larger predators and pluck scraps from the shadows. This one is lean, wiry, and moving with purpose. It knows the landscape like a smuggler knows alleyways. Every hollow, bush, and scent trail mapped in its mind. It won't make a kill today, but it will eat. Off to the west, where the grass grows thinner and sun-bleached bones mark old battlegrounds, the real event is unfolding. A lion pride has brought down a zebra near a dried-up waterhole. The kill was fast, coordinated, and for a brief moment the predators feed in peace. The lionesses tear into the hindquarters while the males guard the perimeter, watching the horizon with bored but cautious eyes. Cubs tug at intestines, blood slicking their muzzles as they whimper and chew. For now, the pride owns the carcass. But the stillness won't last. The first hyena appears at a distance, alone, cautious. It doesn't approach the kill directly. Instead, it lingers in the periphery, moving in slow arcs, pretending to be uninterested. It sniffs the ground, yawns, scratches at a patch of dry skin, behavior designed to diffuse. Lions are territorial, emotional. A direct approach would trigger aggression, but a passive loiterer, that's tolerated for a while. Hyenas understand lion psychology better than most prey. In fact, they aren't really prey at all. Spotted hyenas are Africa's most misunderstood carnivores, often labeled as cowardly scavengers, when in truth, they are elite hunters. A well-organized hyena clan can kill wildebeest, zebra, and even adult buffalo with military precision. Their bite force exceeds 1,100 pounds per square inch, enough to crush bone like dry wood. But more than power, they rely on intelligence. Hyenas are strategic, calculating, and perhaps the most socially complex carnivores in the savannah. As the lone scout moves closer to the lion kill, another hyena appears, then a third. Within minutes, a dozen form a loose semicircle around the carcass. Their calls start soft, giggling cackles, low whoops, and warbling yips, but they rise quickly. It's not just communication, it's pressure. The lions snarl in response, tails flicking, ears twitching. Tension builds. The pride has already eaten its fill. What remains is gristle, bone, and sinew. The lionesses are beginning to feel the heat. Staying means defending scraps, not worth the energy when the sun's weight is so heavy and rivals are gathering. One of the younger males lashes out at a hyena, charging forward with a growl. The hyenas scatter, briefly. But it's just a dance, a rehearsal. The next time they won't scatter, and sure enough, within 15 minutes, the lions retreat to shade nearby, panting hard, bellies bloated. They've had their share. Now it's someone else's turn. The hyenas swarm in seconds, no ceremony, no pause. They descend on the remains with explosive energy, biting, ripping, cracking bones with audible snaps. Their tongues sweep clean the cavities of the zebra's rib cage. Legs are torn free and carried into the bush like trophies. Jaws shatter vertebrae into splinters. Within 30 minutes, there is nothing left that resembles an animal. Even the skull is reduced to fragments. Overhead, the vultures finally drop. One by one, they land around the fringes of the feeding frenzy, white-backed, lappet-faced, Ruppel's griffins, each species with its own strategy, its own preferred piece of anatomy. The hyenas tolerate them mostly. Vultures are small, fast, and relentless. Their stomachs are lined with acid strong enough to dissolve anthrax, botulism, and other pathogens that would kill most scavengers. They clean what the mammals cannot reach: the inside of eye sockets, the final ligaments clinging to bone. Their beaks slice skin like scalpels, and they can strip a carcass to the bone in under 20 minutes if undisturbed. But they are not without rules. Larger vultures dominate the smaller ones. Arguments break out. Wings flap, necks crane, beaks clash with sharp snaps. But even their chaos has order. A kill is never eaten peacefully, but it is consumed completely. Nothing is wasted. Back on the game trail, the jackal arrives. Too small to challenge hyenas, too late to join the vultures, but it knows the drill. It circles wide, nosing for what's left. A bit of tendon missed under a rib, a splinter of organ clinging to a blade of grass. Its survival depends not on abundance but on scraps. It doesn't complain. It doesn't fight. It survives. In the broader context of the savannah, scavengers are not side characters. They are essential. Every kill sets off a chain reaction. Lions eat first, hyenas challenge, vultures descend, jackals scavenge. Insects swarm, and bacteria finish the job. This is the true ecology of the kill. It is not about dominance, but about sequence. Studies show that scavengers like hyenas often consume more meat through theft than by direct hunting. In areas where lion densities are high, hyenas adapt by following prides, learning their hunting patterns, and showing up within minutes of a kill. Some even track vultures overhead, using the birds as aerial scouts. Jackals eavesdrop on hyena calls. Vultures watch the movement of ungulates and predators, following not the scent of blood, but the likelihood of bloodshed. Deception, timing, and hierarchy define their lives. These are animals that thrive not by overpowering others, but by outmaneuvering them. They steal, they wait, they clean up what others leave behind, but in doing so they serve a greater function. Without scavengers, carcasses would rot and fester, disease would spread, and nutrients would be lost. They are the sanitation crew of the wild, unsung, unclean, but undeniably essential. And sometimes they flip the balance. Hyenas have been known to kill lion cubs. In lean times, they've even taken down adult lions, especially old or sick ones. Vultures have harassed cheetahs into abandoning fresh kills. Jackals have raided eagle nests. These aren't passive creatures waiting for leftovers. They are active players in a game where the rules are flexible, and the victors are rarely who you expect. In the end, the savannah doesn't honor how food is obtained. It only records who gets to eat. And often, it's not the strongest or the fastest, but the ones who arrive last, stay longest, and take what's left. Because sometimes, in a land of predators, it's the thieves who feast. As the sun bleeds into the horizon, and the last light stretches long across the grasslands, the savannah begins to shift. The heat finally loosens its grip. The wind, no longer heavy with dust, moves more freely, carrying the scent of dry leaves, cooling earth, and the sweat of retreating animals. Herds that had baked under the punishing sun all day now stir to life, grazing with renewed urgency. But they graze with caution, because the rules that govern this land during daylight no longer apply. Nightfall doesn't just mark a change in light. It flips the savannah's hierarchy. The loud brazen predators, lions roaring to claim territory, cheetahs chasing under the sun, eagles diving from the sky, begin to fall silent. In their place emerge the specialists of darkness, hunters who rely not on strength or speed, but on silence, shadows, and a sensory awareness far beyond human perception. From the branches of a sausage tree, a leopard stirs. Its golden coat, rosetted and gleaming in the daylight, now melts into the grey-brown world of dusk. Leopards are the embodiment of stealth. Solitary, territorial, and immensely powerful for their size, they move through their domain like ghosts. Even their muscles seem to operate quietly. Every step is measured. Every pause is stillness perfected. This male has been watching since late afternoon, hidden just high enough in the branches to avoid detection, yet close enough to smell the wind. Below, a herd of impala drifts nearer to the tree's base, their movement cautious but not yet alert. As night falls, they cluster more tightly, ears constantly pivoting. The leopard waits. It knows this terrain intimately, every slope, every patch of shadow, and it has hunted these impala before. The ambush will not come from the tree. It will come from the blind side of the brush where the terrain dips and the wind curls back on itself. When it finally descends, the leopard moves as if gravity is optional. It lands soundlessly, paws absorbing the shock, tail curling for balance. Then it disappears into the gloom. Not running, not rushing, just vanishing between patches of moonlight. Minutes later, the silence of the night breaks briefly. A muffled crash, a sharp bleat, a rustle in the grass, and then stillness again. The leopard drags its kill into the undergrowth, vanishing before any competitors arrive. No spotlight, no celebration, only efficiency. Elsewhere on the open plains, a different kind of killer begins its patrol. Spotted hyenas, already active during twilight, now step into their element. Night grants them an edge they don't have in broad daylight. Cover. Their vocalizations change in tone and purpose. Long-distance whoops serve to coordinate distant clan members, while lower giggles and grunts communicate social rank and feeding intentions. A group of hyenas moves as a unit, pacing in formation across the grass like a search party. They don't chase, they listen. Hyenas possess one of the most powerful noses in the mammal world, capable of distinguishing between dozens of species, tracking blood trails, and detecting rotting flesh from over a mile away. But they're not limited to scavenging. On cool nights when the temperature favors endurance, hyenas become runners, long-distance predators that pursue prey to exhaustion. Unlike cheetahs, they don't need to sprint, they only need to persist. Tonight, the clan targets a lone wildebeest calf separated from its mother in the confusion of twilight. The adults are near, but not close enough to intervene. The hyenas don't rush the kill. They test the herd's reaction, nip at the calf's haunches, dart in and out, forcing the group to scatter and realign. It's psychological warfare as much as physical. After several minutes, the calf stumbles, winded and disoriented. That's when they close in, and the kill is brutal but swift. In the dark, time is of the essence. The noise will draw competitors. Lions, jackals, maybe even another hyena clan. Above all of this, gliding silently in the air, are the owls. From a low tree branch, a Verreaux's eagle owl surveys the ground with unblinking intensity. At nearly 2 feet tall, with pink eyelids and a bone-crushing grip, it's one of the most formidable nocturnal birds in Africa. It hunts mammals, birds, even snakes, anything that moves under the cover of night. Its feathers are structured for silence, the edges serrated to reduce the sound of air passing over its wings. It can strike without being heard until the moment of impact. Just meters away, an African Scops owl, a far smaller species, plucks a beetle from the ground in complete silence. Despite its size, its facial disc acts like a radar dish, funneling even the faintest sounds to its ears. It can locate a cricket beneath a layer of leaves using only auditory cues. In this dark world, vision takes a back seat. Sound is everything. Then there are the hunters that seem almost out of place, relics of a different scale. In a fig tree along a dry riverbed, a bush baby, small, wide-eyed and deceptively cute, prepares to leap. These primates are not predators in the traditional sense, but their insect hunting behavior is surgical. Their enormous eyes, adapted for extreme low light, give them night vision that rivals any owl. Their ears move independently, each capable of pinpointing the high-frequency buzz of a moth or the faint crawl of a spider. With a twitch, the bush baby leaps, tail straight, body coiled mid-air, landing precisely on its target. The insect is devoured in seconds. The night is filled with creatures like these. Genets slinking along tree limbs, snatching roosting birds, civets padding between shadows, scent marking as they go. Even snakes, normally reclusive, emerge to hunt rodents emboldened by darkness. Each predator has carved a niche in this inverted world, where heat fades, vision dims, and the advantage shifts to those who master silence and subtlety. But it's not just predators that adapt to the night. The prey evolves with them. Many herbivores develop sharper hearing and wider peripheral vision to detect danger in the dark. Some, like hares and spring hares, adopt a freeze and flee strategy, crouching until the last possible second before launching into erratic, bounding escapes. Others, like bushbuck and duikers, restrict their movement, bedding down in concealed thickets to avoid being silhouetted against the moonlit sky. Still, night remains the realm of imbalance. The margins for error shrink. A single misstep, one rustled leaf, one shift in the wind, one blink too long, can mean the difference between life and death. Predators don't always win, but at night they win more often. As dawn approaches, the temperature begins to climb. The shadows stretch, then slowly dissolve. The hunters retreat to dens, burrows, and shaded groves. Owls return to hollow trunks. Leopards climb back into the canopy with their kills. The hyenas melt into the brush, bellies distended and muzzles stained. Silence returns, not because there is no danger, but because the balance of power has shifted again. For now, the savannah belongs once more to the visible. But those who ruled the night are still out there, hidden just beyond the reach of morning light, waiting for darkness to return. The horizon trembles with movement. From a distance it looks like heat haze, a blur above the golden plain. But as the ground begins to vibrate underfoot, the haze sharpens into the outline of bodies. Thousands of them. Horns bob in the distance, hooves thud against dry earth, dust lifts in towering clouds. It's not a stampede, not yet. It's a wave of momentum, a pulse of instinct. This is the migration, one of the most powerful animal movements on the planet, a relentless drive powered by hunger, rain, and ancestral memory. The wildebeest are coming. Over 1 million strong, they pour across the Serengeti in staggering columns that stretch beyond sight. With them move hundreds of thousands of zebra and antelope, forming a living river of muscle, hooves, and urgency. Their pace isn't dictated by leaders or commands, but by an unspoken pressure that surges through the herd like electricity. Some are walking, others are trotting. All are watching. Because even before they reach the rivers, death waits. The predators know the schedule. Lions linger on the outskirts, testing for weakness, singling out stragglers and injured calves. Hyenas shadow the herd from a distance, biding their time. But even these dangers pale beside what waits at the next great obstacle, the rivers. Ahead lies the Mara, a brown ribbon of water winding its way through northern Tanzania and southern Kenya. The Mara River looks deceptively placid at dawn. Early light dances on its surface, birds skip across its edges, and the far bank seems only a few minutes away. But beneath that muddy surface, the real killers wait, ancient reptiles armed with patience and power. Crocodiles. Some of these giants are over 6 meters long, weighing close to a ton. They are remnants of a lineage older than the dinosaurs, and in the Mara, they've adapted to one purpose: ambush. For most of the year, they wait in silence, conserving energy, surviving on scraps. But when the migration arrives, the feeding frenzy begins. It is the only time of year they gorge until their bellies swell and their bodies turn sluggish from excess. The wildebeest don't stop when they reach the banks. They cluster, massing in tight knots of uncertainty. The water is wide, fast in places, and deceptively deep in others. The crocodiles are invisible, but every wildebeest senses them. Some push forward, eyes rolling, nostrils flaring. Others pace, torn between pressure from behind and fear in front. Then something shifts, a sudden surge, a slip of hooves or a shove, and the first body breaks into the river. That's all it takes. What follows is not order, it's chaos. The herd surges forward in a living torrent, crashing down the embankment, flinging mud and foam into the air. Hooves slip on wet rock. Calves cry out as they're swept into deeper channels. Adults plow forward, some climbing over the fallen, others crushed beneath the press. The water churns brown with soil and blood. From below, the crocodiles strike. There's no warning, no ripple, no splash. Just an explosion of muscle and jaws. One crocodile lunges upward, jaws gaping wide enough to swallow a calf's head whole, and clamps down on the neck of a floundering animal. It rolls instantly, a violent death spiral designed to tear flesh from bone. Another crocodile hits from the side, dragging a zebra under by the legs. Bubbles rise. The screaming continues, then cuts out. But the herd doesn't stop. In fact, it speeds up. Panic now drives movement more than instinct. Wildebeest dive into the water in groups of 10, 20, 100. The river becomes a frantic soup of legs and horns, pushing, swimming, colliding. Some animals make it halfway and turn back, only to be swept downstream. Others reach the far bank and collapse, shaking, their legs too numb to carry them forward. And yet, this death is not wasted. Marabou storks and vultures wait nearby, watching the weak and the dead wash ashore. They move quickly, picking at open wounds and soft tissue. Monitor lizards scurry along the edges, pulling scraps into the underbrush. Even catfish in the river bottom feed on blood and fragments drifting in the current. In the savannah, waste is a luxury no one can afford. Astonishingly, some crocodiles pass up opportunities to strike, not from mercy, but from strategy. The oldest and largest understand that the best kill isn't the first. It's the one that comes after the herd has thinned itself, when the water is slower, when panic gives way to exhaustion. These predators bide their time, letting the frenzy churn before claiming what they want. And the wildebeest? They cross not once, but multiple times throughout the migration circuit. Some must brave rivers 4 or 5 times during the season, depending on rainfall and grazing availability. Every crossing is a gamble, one made under duress, driven by the lure of greener pastures ahead. Zebra, often thought to be smarter or more organized, fare little better. While they do scout the riverbanks and sometimes delay crossings until they find narrower or shallower paths, they are not immune to panic. Once the stampede begins, even their more strategic behavior breaks down. Mothers are separated from foals. Injured animals are trampled. And though zebras are stronger swimmers than wildebeest, they bleed just the same when the jaws clamp down. On rare occasions, the predators miscalculate. A crocodile, lured by the chaos, will launch too early and find itself between stampeding hooves. The power of hundreds of animals in motion is enough to crush a reptile's skull, to break limbs, to leave it flailing and broken. But such mistakes are rare. Most crocodiles strike with timing perfected by generations. By the end of the day, the riverbank is littered with evidence of the carnage. Torn hides, shattered horns, bloated bodies snagged on rocks. The survivors graze quietly, exhausted, their sides heaving with the effort. For them, the crossing is done. For now. But somewhere downstream, the next herd gathers, staring at the same water, feeling the same dread. What makes this journey remarkable is not just its scale, but its persistence. Year after year, generation after generation, the migration continues. New calves learn the routes not through maps or memory, but through motion. They follow because the herd moves, because grass runs out, because instinct pulls them forward. The rivers, with all their violence and risk, are part of that inheritance. In this gauntlet, strength isn't measured in muscle or teeth, but in endurance. The ability to risk everything again and again in pursuit of survival. To run because you must. To cross because waiting is worse. And to understand somewhere deep in your bones that water can mean both life and death, and often both at the same time. The morning begins with movement that few eyes register. As the sun creeps over the edge of the savannah, casting long shadows over the dusty plains, the first stirrings of life aren't thunderous hoofbeats or the distant roar of a lion. They're softer, subtler. Beneath the blades of yellow grass, within the cracks of dry soil and the undersides of leaves, an entirely different world wakes. One governed not by tooth and claw, but by sting, bite, venom, and swarm. Insects dominate this biome not in size or spectacle, but in sheer numbers, versatility, and impact. They form the unseen infrastructure of the savannah, orchestrating the food chain at a microbial scale. Yet for all their utility, pollinating plants, breaking down dung, aerating soil, they are also among the savannah's most efficient killers. The most notorious among them is the tsetse fly. No bigger than a housefly and nearly identical in appearance to the untrained eye, the tsetse fly is one of the deadliest insects in Africa, not for its bite, but for what it carries. As it lands silently on the flank of a grazing buffalo, it searches for soft, exposed skin. The bite is fast and often goes unnoticed, but the consequences are anything but subtle. Within its mouthparts, The fly carries trypanosomes, the protozoan parasites that cause sleeping sickness, or human African trypanosomiasis. In animals, a similar affliction known as nagana devastates livestock. The effect ripples through the savanna. Infected animals grow weak, lose weight, become disoriented, and eventually collapse. For predators, this means easy prey, but for herders and pastoralists living near the edges of the wild, it can mean the loss of entire herds. In regions thick with tsetse flies, farming is nearly impossible. The insect dictates not just wildlife behavior, but human settlement patterns. Entire sections of land remain uninhabited, not because of predators or drought, but because of this tiny winged carrier of disease. Elsewhere, under the protective dome of a rotting log, a soldier ant colony is preparing for war. The air is still cool, but already a trail has formed. Hundreds of ants marching in rigid formation, antennae twitching, mandibles clacking. These aren't passive scavengers. They're apex predators of the miniature world, and they function with terrifying efficiency. Army ants don't hunt individually. They overwhelm. The strategy is one of brute force through coordination. When a nest is raided, be it of termites, smaller ants, or even vertebrate carcasses, the soldier ants swarm with such density that escape becomes impossible. Their jaws slice, grip, and sever with no hesitation. Small mammals caught in their path, including rodents and ground-dwelling birds, have been known to suffocate or bleed out before the swarm even begins feeding. They strip flesh with astonishing speed, leaving only bone and silence in their wake. Unlike larger predators, soldier ants don't sleep in dens or mark territory with scent. Their nest moves with them, a temporary bivouac formed from their own bodies, clinging together in a pulsating mass wrapped around their queen. Each day they dismantle their own shelter and reform it at a new location, turning the savanna into a slow-moving front line in a war most creatures avoid entirely. Above ground, the skies are no safer. Skies. Enter the parasitic wasps, perhaps the most grotesquely strategic killers in this miniature battleground. In one patch of scrub, a female wasp zeroes in on a beetle larva nestled in the soft core of a plant stem. With precision that rivals surgical robotics, she pierces the stem with her ovipositor and deposits a single egg directly into the larva's body. The egg hatches, and the developing wasp grub begins to consume its host from the inside, carefully avoiding vital organs at first to keep the host alive. Only in the final stages does it devour the brain and heart, emerging through the carcass like a slow-motion horror scene. These wasps don't kill quickly. They orchestrate death with chilling patience. Some even chemically reprogram their hosts, turning them into zombie-like guards that protect the wasps' developing young from other predators until their use expires. This kind of manipulation blurs the line between instinct and control, and in the insect world, it's surprisingly common. Elsewhere on the savanna, beneath the cracked topsoil near a drying mud pan, a colony of termites tunnels busily, seemingly removed from the violence above. But their peace is deceptive. Termites are the architects of the plains, creating vast subterranean networks that support entire ecosystems. Their mounds tower over the grasses, often several meters high, acting as air-conditioned cities with chambers, nurseries, and farming rooms, where they cultivate fungus to digest cellulose. But their fortresses are under constant siege. Aardvarks, pangolins, and monitor lizards regularly raid termite colonies. And to defend against this, termite soldiers, blind, thick-headed warriors with oversized jaws, form living walls to block intruders. Their defense is often suicidal. In some species, specialized soldiers rupture themselves to coat invaders in a sticky, toxic glue. Others have acidic sprays capable of blinding or deterring attackers twice their size. These are insects that weaponize their own bodies, sacrificing individual survival for the colony's collective strength. Even the most familiar creatures in the savanna fall victim to insects. Mosquitoes, though globally infamous, are no less dangerous here. In many parts of the savanna, they are the primary vector for malaria, a disease that doesn't just threaten humans, but wildlife as well. Primates, birds, and ungulates can all contract malaria-like infections, weakening populations and distorting food chain dynamics. Where mosquitoes thrive, populations falter. It's easy to overlook these dangers when watching elephants stride across the horizon or lions lounge in the midday sun. But the giants of the savanna are just as vulnerable. A single infected wound from a botfly or a persistent tick infestation, can bring even a healthy predator to decline. Insect-borne parasites drain energy, reduce mobility, and open the door to opportunistic diseases. Their attacks are quiet, drawn out, and invisible to the eye, but no less lethal. In the evenings, when the larger animals begin to settle and the air cools, insects surge again. Swarms of midges cloud the riverbanks, their wings humming in dense clouds. Dung beetles emerge, rolling their trophies across the soil with unrelenting focus. Fireflies blink in sync over the brush, signaling to mates. Life pulses beneath the surface of the world most of us notice, and it pulses with purpose. Insects don't chase, they don't roar. They don't leave bloody footprints or shredded carcasses behind. But in the ecosystem's balance sheet, they are the most consistent force of mortality on the plains. Whether by disease, swarm, sting, or silent sabotage, they claim more lives, alter more behaviors, and shape more destinies than any lion ever will. Here in the savannah, the battle for survival doesn't just play out in the open. It creeps, burrows, and stings. It hums in the grass. It waits in the air. The tiniest creatures often carry the heaviest cost. And in this theater of life and death, size is no guarantee of safety. Sometimes it's the ones you never see that bring the end. The savannah is not quiet. Even in the slow heat of midday, when movement stills and predators sleep in the shadows, there's a persistent undercurrent of life, an ambient hum of insects, a rustle of wind through brittle grass, the buzz of flies circling something just out of view. The energy never truly stops. It only shifts hands, and when it does, it begins with death. At the center of an open plain, a zebra lies motionless. It didn't fall in combat. There was no grand chase or blood-smeared ambush. It collapsed where it stood, weakened by age or infection, perhaps both. Its eyes are still open, and its body is already attracting attention. Even before the breath left its lungs, the first flies arrived. Tiny black specks drawn to the scent of decay, landing on the soft tissues first. The mouth, the ears, the folds beneath the tail. To the casual observer, it might look like nothing is happening. But this is where the cycle starts. By afternoon, the carcass becomes a landmark. A pair of white-backed vultures are the first large scavengers to descend, gliding low and circling once before landing awkwardly in a puff of dust. They approach cautiously, heads low and wings half extended, ready to retreat at the first sign of competition. Their beaks tear into the zebra's hide with practiced precision, going first for the eyes and then the thinner belly skin, where entry is easiest. The flesh is still warm. The flies thicken. From beyond a low rise, the unmistakable whoop of a spotted hyena cuts through the still air. It's not a call of discovery, but declaration. The hyena has seen the vultures from afar. It knows what they mean. Within minutes, 3 more arrive, one limping from an old injury, another still stained with blood from a failed hunt the night before. They trot with confidence, low to the ground but bold, scattering the vultures with little effort. Now the real disassembly begins. Hyenas don't nibble, they consume. Their jaws crush ribs and split the pelvic girdle. Teeth grind bone into fragments, devouring parts that even vultures can't touch. In doing so, they unlock nutrients trapped in the skeleton: calcium, marrow, phosphorus, transforming what would otherwise be inaccessible into fuel for their own survival. Every crunch echoes across the grassland, drawing more attention. By evening, the kill site is a hub. Jackals weave in and out like pickpockets, darting forward when the hyenas are distracted, snatching mouthfuls of gristle and dragging them into the tall grass. Marabou stalks descend like funeral clerics, bald heads wobbling, eyes cold and calculating. They squabble with the vultures, jabbing and shoving in short bursts of violence over stringy ligaments and tendon scraps. In the soil beneath the carcass, an army of beetles has already begun to gather. Dung beetles arrive in battalions, rolling balls of excrement scattered nearby by the larger feeders. Dermestid beetles, flesh-eaters, begin their slow but thorough work of cleaning bones. Their larvae chew through sinew, cartilage, and whatever the hyenas left behind. And then come the ants, thousands of them, scaling the bones in a living tide, dragging microfragments back to their nests. The soil becomes animated. By morning, the transformation is profound. What was once a whole animal is now an anatomical ruin. The ribcage is flattened, the skull cracked open, the spine scattered. But even this isn't the end. The nutrients seep deeper now. Fluids drain into the soil, enriching it with nitrogen and phosphorus. Microbial life flourishes in the damp patch beneath the bones. In weeks, grasses will grow taller here, greener than in the surrounding areas. Plants draw from the death and herbivores will return to graze, unknowingly completing the circle. This is the savannah's truth, raw, pragmatic, and unforgiving. Death isn't a punctuation mark. It's the continuation of a sentence. Every life lost feeds countless others. One kill sustains dozens of scavengers, hundreds of insects, thousands of microbes. Even the smell of decay has a purpose, guiding flies to lay eggs, luring in dung beetles, cueing predators to avoid diseased meat. No part is wasted. Giraffes that die near watering holes become feeding grounds not just for crocodiles and hyenas, but for aquatic life, fish, snails, and amphibians that benefit from the meat washed downstream. Elephants that fall during the dry season often create temporary ecosystems around their corpses, attracting predators, scavengers, insects, and even birds that nest nearby to capitalize on the sudden surge in food. Even fire, that feared force of destruction, feeds the land with death. When lightning ignites dry grass and fire races across the plains, the charred bodies of insects and small animals left behind decompose rapidly, enriching the soil for the next generation of growth. Burned landscapes flush with new greenery, attracting grazers and triggering another cycle. Predators benefit too. Lions rarely scavenge unless desperate, but they'll revisit abandoned kill sites to reclaim bones for gnawing, absorbing the last traces of minerals. Leopards, ever opportunistic, sometimes return to old caches to dig up half-buried meat if fresh prey is scarce. Even cheetahs, who rarely defend kills, might linger longer at a site they've had to abandon to vultures, waiting until the air clears for another chance at leftovers. And it's not just about food. Death shapes behavior. Animals learn from corpses. Elephants mourn. They visit bones, touch them with trunks, stand silently over the remains of fallen matriarchs. Whether it's memory or instinct is debated, but their behavior suggests understanding. Predators study where prey fell last season, adjusting hunting routes based on patterns. Scavengers follow these same patterns like nomadic traders circling familiar markets. Humans are no exception. For millennia, pastoralist communities living alongside the savannah's rhythms have learned to read the signs of death. Vultures circling in silence, jackal tracks near the waterline, the sudden disappearance of a familiar animal. These cues guide survival just as surely as any tool or weapon. In this vast and unforgiving land, life depends on the death of others. But there's a strange order to it, a completeness. Every zebra that falls becomes grass. Every lion that starves becomes beetle food. Every moment of loss becomes the seed for something else. And though it may seem brutal, there is a kind of fairness in it. No waste, no favoritism, just continuity. This is the law of the savannah, not one of violence but of transformation. It's not about winners and losers, predators and prey, beginnings or ends. It's about the loop that connects them all. From the breath of a newborn wildebeest to the bones picked clean by fire ants weeks later, every part belongs to the cycle. And in that cycle, nothing truly dies. Everything becomes something else. The circle never ends.